These are our hypotheses. Our first hypothesis is male channels will have more direct sexual content displayed in their ads than female and neutral channels. Our second hypothesis is female channels will have more indirect sexual content, such as underlying tones of family and marriage. Our third hypothesis is that networks will show more sexual commercials during prime time hours, 7 to 10, than in the morning and afternoon. Our fourth and final hypothesis is that male channels will have more overall sexual content than women or neutral channels. These are the channels we observed when coding for sexual content. The channels were determined to be male, female, or neutral based on what Time Warner Cable determined to be target demographic for advertising. Commercials were coded on female, male, and neutral channels at each of the following times: the morning, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., afternoon, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m., and night, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Channels were coded at these times to test the likelihood of commercials having sexual content one time over the other. The goal was to see whether or not more commercials with sexual content were on during prime time rather than other times during the day. We coded each commercial and categorized it through variables. A commercial either had none or displayed one or more of the following variables: sexual emphasis on body, light romantic touch, dating and relationships, sexual innuendo, marriage, passionate kissing, reference to sexual intercourse, public health message, and flirting. The following clips are examples of the variables we coded.
Trojan Man. Here at our lab, we're developing the latest in pleasure innovation, bringing couples closer than ever before.
This commercial is a reference to sexual intercourse and a public health message because it promotes safe sex.
Is that all you got?
I'm up to my knees in 0 calories. Pepsi to the max, so let's drink all of these.
This is an example of sexual emphasis on body. The emphasis is on how drinking Pepsi would make you cool and sexy like Snoop and his dancers.
Introducing a breath of fresh air. New CoverGirl Nature Lux Silk Foundation. Flawless coverage with a light as air feel.
This is another example of sexual emphasis on body, which was the most common variable we found. This commercial is classified as sexual because the focus is on her body image.
Though our hypothesis predicted an excess of sexually driven commercials, we found this to be false. Overall, we observed a total of 360 commercials, 90 of which had sexual content. The statistics also showed that the specific categorical variables we considered sexual were not as prominent in the commercials as we predicted. References to sexual intercourse and public health messages were rarely seen, with only 9 out of 360 and 3 out of 360, while sexual emphasis on body was 50 out of 360, a much higher number than we expected. Our hypothesis that male channels will have more sexual content in ads than female or neutral channels was not supported. From the data we collected, it seems that there is a nearly even distribution of sexual content on all channels. There is no significant relationship between the sexual content in commercials and the channel type they are on. The second hypothesis was that female channels would have more indirect sexual content such as underlying tones of family and marriage. We found that most commercials that had any dating, marriage, or relationship references were not predominant on women channels. Rather, there was no relationship with what channel type these commercials were on. Our third hypothesis was that we expected there to be more commercials with sexual content during prime time. As shown here in this graph, that was not the case. Rather, it seems that it is nearly even when sexual content is presented. The relationship between the commercial time of day and whether or not there is sexual content is not significant. Our final hypothesis was that male channels would have more direct sexual content in ads than in female or neutral channels. We came to the same conclusion that there is nearly an even distribution of sexual content, making there be no significant relationship between direct or indirect sexual content or channel type. None of our hypotheses were supported by the data. Neither the time of day nor the type of channel had statistical influence on the amount of sexual content. In fact, we found that there seems to be relatively little sexual content found in television ads. A possible reason for the uniformity across gender types is due to the consistency of the same ads being played on each television station.